Hello and welcome to Settings Clutch, the holiest place of all the real-time strategy. So there are a number of different videos I upload to this channel. Some are 1v1, some are point of view, some team games. Sometimes they're epic settings games, which feels like that's the ones that people like the most, but I'd like to disappoint you. That's not one of them. Once I get a good replay and get enough energy to do one of those, I'll do it. This is going to be something different, so I'm only going to look at what MarkoBox does. So if you don't want to just stare at one player and see what only one player is doing, go to a different video. This could be interesting for some, especially if you're learning to play settings back, or just learning about economy in general. Learning about the trees of setting clutch, which are quite amazing. See some manual reclaim. I gotta push the shift button. I gotta get as much action out of this as I can. No, okay. Sometimes you forget to hit the infinite build button, which makes you not build units when you should be. That's a waste of build capacity. So MarkoBox, that's not a very good start. So there should be some time for me to talk about other things, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do this. I looked at the way the channel looks like to subscribers, and it kind of pissed me off. I didn't notice that there was this what to watch next window, which I have no control over. YouTube just stuck that on there, and YouTube randomly chooses which videos from the channel to show you. So please ignore that completely, because you'll probably see something from a long time ago with different quality than today. That's the number one thing. Another thing, always looking for feedback about tourneys, things like that. I really want to get more tourneys going. I just don't really have the energy or the patience to hold a whole bunch of them. But if you just need a cash prize or something like $50 to put on a tourney, and your tourney looks good and you organize it, and I'll be more than happy to provide that. Because I think holding tourneys for this game is one of the biggest things, and that's really the only reason that I even have this channel, is to try to promote it. And it's been about what, 2.5 years, something like that, almost 3 years. It's been a bit slower than I wanted, but we've definitely grown, so I can't really complain too much. Of course, it's all mostly thanks to the work of Pilot. We definitely owe him this piece of humanity. It really created this place in the world where we can play this great game. Oh, he's running over trees, over the pristine trees. That should be criminal. Gotta go around. This is later on. That's a lot of really good power for MarkoBox that he will not get. But you can see what MarkoBox is doing. He's really focusing on power. This is 25 units of build capacity. Actually, no, it's 30 units of build capacity. So most of his mass is actually going into P-gens instead of yeah, he's upgrading a single tech to mass extractor. Still hasn't finished all of his tech once, and I think he's gonna mass stall here shortly. He's made way too much power for probably what he wants to do, unless he's gonna run tech to air, which would be very early. Looks like he might be getting a little mass from Gala, who is facing TA. Gala's gonna get robbed in this one, but that's besides the point. So very minimal factories, just 2 factories. A very focused power, a lot of build capacity on power, and another factory for some more build capacity. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with what MarkoBox is doing here. Maybe he's doing it so he can build a lot of things at home, but he's missing out on 2 mass extractors by making this engineer reclaim. See all these reclaiming engineers, they're slower, but got about 550 mass for them. I would probably instead not upgrade that and just get those. It'd be much more easy. Have these engineers maybe grab these trees, but those are very minor details. Yeah, so I was saying that I was hoping this game would get a lot bigger. I think it definitely has the potential. The problem is it doesn't get promoted, and the reason it's not promoted is it's old. In people's minds, it's old, it's not good. So it's up to all the people who play this to tell the outside world But this game is actually better than any other real-time strategy, which I guess is my opinion, but I feel like it's pretty accurate. At least a competitor to StarCraft. But of course, don't try to convince people who are StarCraft fans that they're addicts just like us. Yeah, because in my opinion, planetary annihilation is just something completely different that doesn't compete with this. Finally, the last Tech 1 mask extractor after 5 minutes. So what we've seen, Tech 2 air before the last Tech 1 mask extractor for MarkoBox. But this is very quick, so he's going to, I imagine, make T2 power here. There's no other reason to rush Tech 2 air this quickly. And look at all them scouts. He's also bleeding a little power to his allies at this point. Not sure if they really want that. He's also making proximity factories. I'm not a big fan of these proximity factories. I think these engineers instead should either be reclaiming trees or assisting upgrading mask extractors, because it takes a long time to actually get that. I think it's better just to make all your build capacity at home and have it slowly come out. That way you don't trample on trees. You don't destroy the green vegetation. This is fairly quickly. So if this was 3599, I think MarkoBox could push 7-minute ASF. You could make a single PGen, then put all the build capacity on the air factory, rush Tech 3, start making ASF, fly it across. Or you could even rush a Strat Bomber if you wanted to. But now with the new power cost, it's much more difficult. Galley getting bombed meanwhile. And since I guess people who watch this channel don't really get to see this too many times, on larger maps you can see there's a lot of space that has no radar or visual coverage. There could be bases here, so it's always nice to build a couple scouts and patrol them over your own base, kind of like what MarkoBox is doing over Tiep. Well, yeah, you can see scouts here. In the past, there's always people trying to sneak in stealth cruise missiles and things like that to end the game. It's one of the worst feelings to happen to you when people do that to you. See MarkoBox starting resource allocation. He's going to do resource allocation on only 2 Tech 2 PGens. That's pretty crazy. But I guess he's going to do it. Yeah, this is where this engineer was not very efficient. He's going to be finished with that factory by the time he's already getting resource allocation. And look, yeah. And he's going to be prevented by the power throttle. You can see the power throttle, what it does doesn't just pause the game, it pauses the engineers. This engineer does not have as much priority as some of these other NGs. So they're all assisting. But MarkoBox is able to use just enough power without power stalling. And it's critical that he doesn't power stall, which allows all of his mass extractors to keep running, which means he does not lose mass. You never want to just put so much build capacity that you power stall, because that shuts down the rest of your economy. Something that's pretty simple if you think about it, but a lot of people tend to ignore it. The power throttle completely solves that for you. It would be pretty dangerous, I think, to do this without the power throttle with only 2 PGens. Usually people get 3. And also you can see how recycling at the same time. That's nice to see. And actually, in terms of the time of the first resource allocation, it's going to be pretty early, but it's not going to be crazy early. Make it a little faster. Perhaps it was because Marko didn't get too much mass from the middle. Yeah, now when he's completely mass stalling, you can put even more. Actually, the power throttle did that whole thing. MarkoBox could have been over here looking at his scouts while that whole dance happened. So now you can see in terms of power, MarkoBox is going to be way ahead of everyone. And he will now recycle so much mass. This is 2,000 mass in these 2 PGens, which you can recycle and put either into the resource allocation, continue to upgrade the mass extractors. And here I would almost think that rushing a Tech 3 mass extractor might be a good idea, although no, I think he's not even going to have enough mass. But with 2 Tech 2 PGens, and if the second resource allocation was finished, you could totally take a Tech 2 mass extractor and get a Tech 3 before you get others, other Tech 1s to Tech 2. Yeah, what else is happening on FAF? We got a whole bunch of tourneys coming up. We got the best of 15 between Voodoo and Zlo. It looks like they didn't need the Hydra either. We have Voice of Reason, both under 1800 and over 1800. I did see that the views for those casts were surprisingly low. Not sure why, but I guess that's alright. Yeah, yeah, Marco, I think you heard me. He's gonna go to straight Tech 3. I think this is where it's not obvious, but it's because you wanna upgrade the structure where you have the maximum build capacity, and this is definitely where he has the maximum build capacity. And actually, when you're doing that out, pause everything else just to rush this as quickly as possible. Yeah, these scouts, it's excellent. They're very cheap and they're very annoying to kill. Just hang out. Actually, let's see if Teep can see them. He actually has no idea. That's the effect. That's why you want to always have radar. And let me just speed this up. I thought there would be a little more action. Usually when you play this, it feels like a lot more action. But if people have ideas about what other bases we should stare at and talk about, whether or not this is total nonsense, I'd understand that as well. But the biggest thing is people should come up with ideas for tourneys. We should combine our efforts to hold as many tourneys as possible and to let as many people know as possible. And if people have ideas about how to do those two things, that's really what the comment section should be for. So MarkoBox is now at Tech 3, coming up minute 13, first ASF. Very late ASF. Is that enemy? Laneless? No, that's ally. And what we're going to see now is that he's bleeding quite a bit of power over to his allies. Laneless, is he getting resource allocation? He's already got his. What about Benzel? It's really nice to have Aeon and Seraphim on your side. Yeah, you see Benzel is on 2 resource allocations. So much excess power from his allies. Which means that MarkoBox does not need to invest in Tech 3 power. Instead, he's going to invest in energy storage. See, this is what happens when you're using more power than you're making, but your allies keep on helping you out. You see, as soon as he gets a little more power storage, he fills that up very quickly. He's basically capturing his allies' excess power, saving it for later. It's about 1,000 mass right here, so making 4 of these is the same as upgrading Tech 1 to Tech 2. Also notice how, in terms of build capacity, this is really nice from MarkoBox. He does not have too much on his air factory. He has just enough. He's not doing any crazy drastic things. And he's just slowly getting his Tech 3 mass ejectors up. See if he can do it by minute 20. But minute 18 is a good benchmark, I think. Well, but it depends on how much mass you got from the middle. If you're using the throttle, you should be able to do 18 with like 50 ASF. I'm sure there's people like SC Account to whom that would be really bad, but you know, I don't know where every single tree lives. Also, if you're not aware, you can see how you have factory attack moves from all the different factories. Basically just did this, and then Alt, right click right there. As the engineers come in, they really pack very tight when you have the factory attack move, and then once they start waiting for orders, you just select the idle engineers and have them guard an engineer that's already guarding the factory. That way they don't move around, they just start guarding immediately. In this fashion, you can pack 1,000 engineers around a single factory if you want. There are issues sometimes. For example, these 2 engineers are kind of beginning to creep up. I think it's just engineers bumping into each other. If it gets into the air factory, you can actually stop your production. You definitely want to avoid that. So I would select those and kind of push them aside a little bit. Yeah, you can see so much power storage still filled. So even if suddenly MarkoBox start making too much mass, it's not a huge deal. Although he's doing that now, he's actually limited by build capacity. So actually, let's look just out of interest, how much power do you need? 40,000. So in his power storage, he's got enough power for 2 ASFs. It's a huge ratio. Yeah, as an air player, this is what happens. People keep paying you, and you gotta solve their problems. That's a Tech 3 gunship from Tip. That's pretty crazy. But here, this is where MarkoBox could have done better. As he kept on building up his mass and power, he should have really built more factories. He could have easily afforded more factories, built more build capacity, and then started taking those to Tech 3, or even built a couple Tech 3 engineers, which he's doing now, and then started those Tech 3 engineers, started making Tech 3 air factories. There was a very small window for him to do that, but I think he kind of skipped it. But now, once again, he still has a couple Tech 3 mass extractors to make. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 left. It's another 20,000 mass. That's enough mass for a GC. Oh, well, almost enough mass for a GC. GC is about 27. Tech 3 torpedoes. Those are always nice. So you can see among these players, they're good players. MarkoBox actually has the top score, when he got very little mass from the middle, which tells you this build is actually not bad, but a lot of it is the resource allocation of Benzel and Laneless. And let's see, we're coming up minute 20. Are there going to be any Tech 2 mass extractors left? Yes, there's one right there, and perfect place to put your Tech 3 power. Typically it makes 2,500. Let's see how much extra power will be made. I think this is where I'm going to stop this video. I'm not going to watch the rest of this replay. Just want to see this last little piece of data. Yeah, 375. So an extra 1,250. So an extra 50%. So hopefully people enjoy this one.